Welcome in to another episode of the Golden Sombrero Show. I'm Dominic Stern, joined by Cole Bradley and Ryan Blank as always. Today we'll be talking about a whole lot of things regarding the baseball offseason rewards, head coaching hires, new owner in baseball. We got a lot to get to, not time out any games, of course, as it is the offseason, but we're fortunate enough to have content to talk about. Our Golden Sombrero report will be next week, mostly because I forgot about it, but we also have a lot of stuff to talk about. So we will have that soon.
Dom, can I just say I'm proud of you for admitting that you said you forgot. I thought you were just going to say we have so much stuff we have to say, then I was going to have to call you out for it.
I don't lie to my listeners, Ryan. I may mislead them sometimes, but I don't lie to them, especially when it comes to our World Series prediction. No lies there. But, guys, how you doing today? It's another fine Thursday afternoon. How you doing, Cole? How you doing, Ryan?
Good.
Doing good. Just won this election. Speed it up at this point.
I think it's fairly inevitable what's going to happen in this country. But we thank you for coming and tuning in to some baseball talk because we know that, like Ryan was alluding to, it can get a little tough listening to the same stuff over and over on CNN, Fox, NBC, ABC, wherever you're listening.
Oh, report just came in. The Royals have acquired Dylan Coleman from the Padres to complete the Rosenthal trade.
I see that. I really don't care.
You want to know?
Yeah. No, the Padres just sent in their player to be named later for that trade. And what other trade? I don't know.
The Andrew Chafin trade was completed today. Don't know the name of the guy we got from the Cubs, but that's cool.
We're seeing player to be named laters getting traded as you couldn't be traded during the trade deadline during the season if you weren't on the 60-man roster pool. So we're seeing those trades that hadn't been previously completed get completed over these past couple of days. Ryan, of course, mentioning the Padres trade that sent Rosenthal to the Padres being completed. So it's nice to see, but we got other stuff to talk about. Let's talk about the managerial hire that we were alluding to last show. It got announced Friday morning, which of course was after we recorded. We said it was going to happen, but we never really gave our thoughts because we wanted to make sure that it was going to happen. But A.J. Hinch, former manager of the Houston Astros when they won the 2017 World Series, made it to the ALCS in 2018, then made it back to Game 7 of the World Series in 2019. Of course, amid a huge cheating scandal. Nonetheless, he still got his team there. He is now the manager of the Detroit Tigers after sitting out for a year in 2020 when he was suspended for his role in the cheating scandal. Guys, what do you think about A.J. Hinch, one, returning to a managerial position in baseball, and two, what do you make of this hire for the Detroit Tigers?
Well, I guess to start, I really like this hire, and if I was to compare it so far with the La Russa hire, this is far and away a better hire. Hinch is a much more successful manager in our game today. Say what you will about the cheating thing. He is still a very good manager, I think. He's definitely a good fit with Detroit because he used to play there, I think, as well. That's always nice, and I'm sure that's part of the reason he ended up going there. I also really like it because, Detroit's one of those teams where the past couple of years they've been bad. They've been one of the worst teams in the league, but they've racked up those draft picks and, they've stacked up on talent that is going to be coming up in the near future, particularly on the pitching side of things. And he's definitely a guy who I think can help mold a roster of, young studs and turn them into a potential. I'm not going to say a definite playoff team, but a potential playoff caliber team over the next few seasons. And so I think he's definitely the right guy for the job. He did a lot of that with the Astros, worked with a lot of talent there. Very highly analytical mind as the Astros were. He brings that to Detroit. I think that helps as well. I really like the hire. I think it's going to do a lot for their team, for their franchise. Yeah,
I think this is a good hire for Detroit. He obviously has a connection because he played there, but also he's a winner. He's won a World Series. I know there was cheating and there's all that, but still got the team there gone together. You can't just take everything he did away from the cheating scandal. Not everything, but connection there. I think he's going to be great for the youth that's there. We've seen Detroit struggle for the past few years. Pitching is where their strong suit is going to be soon. They have great guys coming up, including Casey Mize. So there's so much talent and potential and youth there. I think AJ Hinch is a perfect guy to connect with them and bring a nice young core together in an attempt to win, because he did that in Houston, was get a core together. So I think it's a great hire. Do I like it because it's a rival of the Royals? No, but for Detroit's purposes, I think it's a good hire, and I think it puts them closer to the right direction where they want to go.
Right, and you guys mentioned the pitching of the Detroit Tigers, and while that's absolutely correct, you also got to look at what he did with the pitching staff in Houston. Now, of course, he wasn't the primary guy doing all the work with the pitchers, but, I mean, you look at it, I don't want to say they revitalized Justin Verlander's career, but they certainly made him very equatable to the pitcher, or very comparable to the pitcher that he once was in Detroit after multiple injuries and multiple down years. He got back to that level, ended up winning the Cy Young, which we've already talked about. Should have went to Garrett Cole, but still a little mad about that. Anyways, they definitely revitalized Garrett Cole, made him live up to that number 1 draft pick, revitalized Charlie Morton, figured him out. Then he went off to Tampa Bay and, of course, was electric out there as well. A couple of other pitchers that have also succeeded under him, Colin McHugh. You really looked at Brad Peacock there as well, Lance McCullers. Bunch of really talented pitchers. Whenever you talk about the Houston Astros, you always talk about the hitters. But that pitching staff was very good out there, and he always did a great job of managing those guys out there. So how he's going to develop these guys, you guys already mentioned Casey Mize. He wasn't that great in 2020. A lot of people don't realize that. He was a rookie. It's a weird season. It's really tough to judge players based on the season alone. But he wasn't great. He's going to have to work with Casey Mize to help him get to that number 2 overall pitching prospect in baseball status, the best right-handed pitching prospect in baseball status, because he did not live up to that hype this year. They also got Matt Manning. You got Tariq Skubal, who also appeared this year. They got Alex Faedo down in there. They've got a ton of pitchers. Their pitching staff is going to be so good. We'll see how AJ Hinch can work with the pitching coach and with the pitchers to help develop those guys and to get them where they need to be, because the Detroit Tigers have gone through a lengthy rebuild at this point. It's been almost 5 years since they've really been relevant in baseball. And, soon they got Miguel Cabrera coming off the books. That's going to help them out. Detroit, it's not really the most profitable market in baseball, but certainly if this pitching staff performs, some players could want to come to Detroit in the next coming years. AJ Hinch is going to be a big part of that. So, Ryan, you mentioned that you're a Royals fan. You're not a huge you're a little worried about the Tigers in the future. Where do you think this puts them in terms of their rebuild for competing with the Royals? Because you two are the teams that are really building up. The Indians are probably on the bit of the downslide, and the Twins really showed this year that they aren't as dominant, especially in the lineup wise. So how do you see the Tigers comparing to the Royals now that they've hired AJ Hinch, who you claim is a good manager?
Yeah, I think they have the advantage in pitching, even though both teams have great pitching prospects. The Royals showed a couple of their great prospects in Bubich and Singer this year who were good. But looking at the Tigers, they've got an elite amount of terrific prospects at pitching. So they're really setting themselves up to be one of the best pitching staffs soon. They're also setting up themselves to have a solid outfield. I think when it comes down to it, in the next 3-4 years, when they have the brunt of their talent up, these will be 2 of the top teams contending for the division. I really think that, along with the White Sox, because they're still young and have a lot of talent. But you're seeing the Twins. They're slipping. The Twins have not shown that they can be that contender once they reach the playoffs. Then the Indians, especially after the report with Lindor, because they intend to trade him because they don't have the money to afford him, they're going to start slipping, like you said, Dom. So it's going to come down to it where the Royals and Tigers could end up battling for the division in the next few years because of the talent and because of the farm systems that each team has.
All right, there you have it. Tigers, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the AL Central. I do think that both those teams, the Tigers and the Royals, can make an impact. Maybe not this year, but certainly in 2022, we could be seeing those teams up at the top of the division. I think we all can agree this is the White Sox division for the next couple of years. Tim Anderson is going to be a free agent in 2022, so we'll see how they capitalize on him in this upcoming year. Jose Abreu is going to be a free agent in 2023. So they do have some of those guys that have been the key contributors coming off the books. And once you see those guys possibly go away if the White Sox don't bring them back, that's really when you can start to see the Tigers and the Royals really take a stride to get that division under grabs. So next transaction that we really want to talk about is an owner. We normally don't hear about this, but Steve Cohen has bought the New York Mets, Uncle Stevie. And a lot of people don't seem to think this is a huge deal, but when you look at it, Steve Cohen has more money than the three most expensive owners in baseball. So you're seeing a really dynamic owner come into baseball. He's a Mets fan. What do you guys think of this this purchase from Steve Cohen, and what do you think this has in the future for the New York Mets, who should be one of baseball's most promising franchises?
I think looking at it in terms of its impact right now, it means so much right now going into this offseason with free agency, because in a time where teams are really going to be doing anything but spending big money, Cohen comes in with all of this cash, and he's said that he's willing to be aggressive and go out and make the team better. And there's a lot of guys who are going to be looking for big money. This is a pivotal offseason for the Mets to improve. And again, there's a lot of teams that are going to be more conservative than they are aggressive. So Cohen coming in at the right time with all this money is helping them, definitely make a push for some of the bigger free agents like Bauer, like Springer, like Real Muto. If they can get at least one of those guys, I think that's huge, because any of those guys impact your team in a positive light. But even just for the future, he seems like, he's very fan oriented. I don't think I've ever seen a general manager interact with fans on Twitter as much as he has. I mean, who's to say that all the stuff that he said, to some of his Mets fans in his mentions over the past couple of days is going to come to fruition. But the fact that he's, doing that right away, that he's coming in right now and he's already engaging with his fans, that means a lot, especially for a team like the Mets that, has a very strong fan base. There's a lot of people who do like the Mets. It's not to the caliber of the Yankees, but, New York's a big market. It's a big baseball market. It's a big baseball town. And so, being able to make those connections early is very positive. So I think this is good for the Mets. I think it puts them in a really good spot, not only now, but for the future. I mean, the Mets have been the meme team, if you will, for the longest time. I mean, they just seemingly can't get anything right. Guys can't stay healthy. They sign horrible contracts. This can change. I'm not going to say all of that, but this can definitely, be a step in the right direction for the organization. So definitely, if you're a Mets fan, if you're someone who is, just into this team in general, this is definitely something to keep your eye on as this offseason, as the years progress. But yeah, I think this is huge for baseball as well. And I'm going to be interested to see how things shape out.
Yeah, this is big for the Mets because all their fans hated the Wilpons because they were cheap. They wouldn't do anything to make the team better. And I think getting Steve Cohen, who's the richest owner now, is big. It helps them because they need to get something back on the field to where they're going to get that traction again and where they're going to be a team that people talk about. I know that my friend Michael Graffa, he is ecstatic about it. He's been pushing for it for months and is so happy that there's a new owner for the Mets. But the way that he's, like Cole said, the way he's already connecting with fans and giving them excitement through free agents or through trades or anything like that is awesome, because Mets fans have felt very unchained or unconnected, I should say. to the organization what they were thinking. And Steve Cohen said he's going to spend the money. He's going to make this team contenders again. And whether that's going out and getting a guy like JT Realmuto, Trevor Bauer, or George Springer, they're going to go try to get that and try to get a team out there as soon as possible. I know that there's now pressure for a Lindor trade. There's a lot of options for them. I don't think they're going to get Lindor. I don't know if Lindor's going to really be traded. But I think it's going to come down to, can Steve Cohen deliver? Will he deliver? He's talking a big game. If he can deliver, then this Mets team has a bright future with him there and on the field. So it really just depends.
Something just to add before we get any further. I saw that, I think it was Noah Syndergaard tweeted that, he felt like the Wilpons, who were the previous owners, treated him and a lot of the other players like commodities. And he said he's just hoping Cohen treats them more as individuals. So I think this is, again, it's huge for the Mets because there's obviously was a much deeply rooted problem within the organization. Like, people just didn't get along, agree with each other. And that's never what you want. You want agreement and, camaraderie amongst all levels of your organization, whether it's the managerial staff, the front office, the roster itself. You want everyone to get along. You're a team. You're an organization. You're in it for the long haul. And so, again, just seeing that from the players speaks volumes for what the situation was like before. It obviously was not good. And so, again, it just makes it that much more important.
Right. You jumped in right before I was going to say that exact same thing. I was going to refer to what Noah Syndergaard said. And that's important because everyone who plays professional baseball is doing that because that's what they're good at and it's what they enjoy doing the most. And if you have an owner who doesn't respect that you're trying to help the franchise win so that the owner can get more money and stuff like that, and you treat them like they're they're not even players, they're your employees and not like they're actually players and that they're doing what they want to do, the player's going to have less fun playing for your team. And when you have less fun playing for your team, you're not going to perform as well as you possibly could have, because every year we go into talks, preseason, spring training, we're making our predictions, and every year people are like, this is the Mets year. This is the year they're going to finally live up to their expectation. And they don't. And it's because their players don't have fun playing for the Mets. Noah Syndergaard has been a prime example. He's been very outspoken with the New York media about stuff, and that's probably because he's 6'6" and no one wants to mess with him. So he said this multiple times. I've heard from multiple people that are very loyal New York sports fans that the Mets treat their players like just awful, especially in the minor leagues. They basically just used Tim Tebow and treated him like crap for a financial standpoint, which, I wanted the Padres to do that as well. Maybe not treat him poorly, but sign him, sell Tim Tebow jerseys, market him as a player, and then help him get better and help him try to get to the major leagues, which is what he wanted. But that was never the Mets' intention. They just brought him in, kept him down to the minors, said, all right, go out there and play Tim, draw fans. And it's tough to watch because the Mets, we've already talked about, great fan base, really good fan base, really big fan base. And we'll see if Steve Cohen can finally deliver for them. They're a big market team. We'll see if he treats it like he's the owner of a big market team, because certainly capable of bringing in those big market players. I know we're not going to talk about this show, but I certainly feel like they need to go after George Springer and play him in center field, because center field's been a weak spot for that team for the past couple of seasons, and George Springer is the best center fielder on the market. But they're going to have options. We'll see how Steve Cohen handles this. He's a Mets fan. He's going to want to win as the Mets owner. He's not going to treat it like it's a business piece. Now, of course, he's going to want to make money out of it. That would be stupid for him to not want to do that. But he's not going to be afraid to put some money on the table in order to bring in bigger hands. A little bit of a poker reference there. But I won $15 playing poker last night, so had to give a little reference there. Anything else you guys want to say about Steve Cohen?
I respect it.
Yeah, because you kind of.
Remember when I took all your money in poker?
What?
Twice?
Yeah.
Remember when I took your money in poker?
That wasn't twice. It was once. Yes, you did do that. Anyways, you guys got anything else to say about Steve Cohen and the Mets situation? No, yeah, and we'll see where they go with GM. He's already said that he wants to bring back Sandy Alderson. Not entirely sure it's the best move, although that's better than Brody Van Wagenen. And then we'll see if they bring back Luis Rojas as their manager. I wasn't a big fan of bringing him in the first place, and he did not do a very good job of maximizing the Mets' potential. They finished in last place in that division, which is no reason that team should be finishing in last place. Anyways, next, let's go with our awards predictions. The MLB announced the finalists for the Coach of the Year, the Rookie of the Year, the Cy Young Award, and the MVP. So let's start with Manager of the Year because I feel like, this is the least important one. This is the one where it's not really won on the field. It's done with your managing and such. Let's start with the American League. 3 nominees for this are Rick Renteria of the Chicago White Sox. He led the Chicago White Sox back to the playoffs with a very young and dynamic team. Ended up getting fired. Yeah, what, Ryan?
Can we all acknowledge how funny it is? After the White Sox fire him, he gets nominated as a finalist, and then they congratulate him on Twitter.
Yeah, that was a tough look.
That has to be pretty funny.
Yes. Anyways, he led them to a 35-25 record for the White Sox this year. Next up, Charlie Montoyo, head coach of the Toronto Blue Jays. He led them to a 32-28 record. Once again, another really young team. It wasn't expected by a lot of people to be this good, but another dynamic factor about Montoyo is that he managed his team basically on the road the entire year. They weren't playing at their normal home stadium in Toronto. They were playing in Buffalo, which isn't too far away, but still not in their home state of Canada. And the last one, Kevin Cash led the Rays to the 40-20 record, ultimately led them to the World Series. Of course, these awards were voted on prior to the postseason began. So, guys, if you were voting, who would you give your first place vote to in the American League?
I don't care about Game 6 of the World Series or any of that, but Kevin Cash is by and large the best manager in baseball, and he's more than deserving to be the manager of the year in the American League. I just think the record and everything speaks for itself. And again, we can't talk about it enough when we say, he takes a team like the Rays, who are small market, a lot of very, not really noteworthy players, not as much as say the Dodgers, to take a team like that to the World Series, much less to lead them, to make them consistent, if you will, for the past few years. That speaks volumes to management. And I know a lot of it is analytically driven, but, that's the new age of baseball. And if you're not with it, get with it. So I think he's more than deserving of it. I really don't think, honestly, like Montoyo, I mean, the Blue Jays made the playoffs this year, but if this was a full season, it wouldn't have happened. Kudos, like you said, having the whole added aspect of them not being able to play in Canada. They had to play in Buffalo the whole year. They were basically on the road the whole year, like you said. That's definitely something to think about. Rick Renteria, it's just sad. It's honestly comical, but I think that's Chicago sports management for you. If that doesn't really speak volumes about the White Sox or just Chicago sports in general, that's, I'm not really too surprised, but definitely should be commended for his efforts. I think he's been there, through ups and downs, to say the least, but this year definitely proved a lot. The players love him as well, but I can't not like Kevin Cash. I think he's that new school breed of manager that, is just at the forefront of all those, new wave kind of tactics and strategy and everything that he brings to the game. And so I think, being the trailblazer of that, if you will, that in and of itself is pretty impressive. So Kevin Cash is definitely my pick.
Yeah, for me, it's easy. Kevin Cash. He took a team with a payroll of $28.3 million and led them to be American League champions, regular season best record in the AL, and I'm pretty sure in the second best record in the entire league, and against teams with a better 500 win percentage or better, 21-9. Yeah, Game 6, he messed up. Yeah, I know. But like you said, Cole, it's the way of the game now. Analytics drive decisions, and analytics really are what make baseball a lot of baseball now. And yeah, he used analytics poorly in pulling Snell, but I still think, despite all that, Kevin Cash is the best manager in the entire MLB. I agree with that, Cole. And when it comes to it, you can't say anything against him when he took a team that has $28.3 million invested in their payroll and took them 2 wins away from a World Series. So I don't think that there's much to say that you can't give Cash the award. Montoyo, he did a great job. He got them to the playoffs, and that team has a bunch of youth and a bunch of potential that is going to fuel them to be a dangerous team in the coming years. And for the White Sox, it's just sad that they fired Renteria. And he was terrific, but Jerry Reinsdorf, it's become apparent that he lost out on La Russa before. He didn't want to lose out on him again. So Reinsdorf went and got him. And I just think that with all the factors and how great Kevin Cash did this year, it's got to be him now.
So I've advocated for Kevin Cash to be manager of the year in both 2018 and 2019, considering what he's done. I think this year really certifies himself as the best manager in baseball, like you mentioned, Cole, considering what he's done with the talent. I just feel like in the year of 2020, the year of the coronavirus, the year that was headlined by that and by the shortened season of baseball, I'd vote Charlie Montoyo. And he took a team that lost 95 games a year ago, and he led them to the playoffs without even playing at their home stadium. I feel like that's very impressive. And when you talk about the payroll, nothing jumps out at this team as well. You know, they did go out and they paid Hyun-Jin Ryu this season. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know they're certainly in the bottom half of the league. Still led them to the playoffs nonetheless. Now, of course, I mean, there was guaranteed to be one team in the bottom half of the payroll, given the fact there were 16 playoff teams this year. But, you know, given what he did, I would vote him first. I would vote Kevin Cash second. That's no disrespect to Renteria, but that's how I would have it. What do you guys think about my vote for Montoya?
I mean, I definitely see the argument. I see with awards in general, I think, you know, the finalists are all deserving in their own right to win whatever award it is. I think the big factor, like you said, with Montoyo is taking an extremely young and, you know, blossoming organization who didn't play a single home game, if you will, this season, and leading them to the playoffs, be it in a shortened season, is definitely nothing short of impressive. I think that still speaks volumes. Just the same about, you know, Renteria. I think there's a lot to be said about him. But yeah, no, I don't disagree with the pick. I honestly don't disagree with people who would pick Renteria, to be completely honest. I just think that, you know, being by and large probably the best manager in baseball speaks for itself. So I think that's just why Kevin Cash, you know, stands out above the rest.
Yeah, it's a good pick. What Montoyo did this year is terrific. 95-win team gets in the playoffs. And also, not just without being in their home state, they also were without Bo Bichette a lot of the season. And they still played great baseball and got into the playoffs. So you got to commend him for what he did. But at the same time, best manager in baseball, took that payroll to American League champions. Best record in the AL. I don't know what else you need from Kevin Cash to be the manager of the year.
Right. I think he'll get it, but my vote would be for Montoya. So let's move over to the other league, the National League. 3 candidates are Don Mattingly of the Miami Marlins. He led the Miami Marlins back to the playoffs for the first time since 2003, I believe, which is absolutely incredible. They did lose a playoff series for the first time in franchise history, but they went 31-29, had to deal with a big outbreak within the team. The first week of the season, had to play through the next coming weeks with just a bunch of random brought together players because they had so many players that were quarantined, that were sitting out due to COVID-19. So he did a great job of getting them just to play good enough baseball to get to the playoffs. You got David Ross of the Cubs in his first year as manager for the Cubs, led them to a 34-26 record after they missed the playoffs the previous year after they were on a steady decline from winning the World Series in 2016, in which he was a part of. And the final candidate is my San Diego Padres manager, Jace Tingler, led the Padres to a 37-23 record, the second best record in the National League, third best record in baseball. Led the Padres to the playoffs for the first time since 2006, and their first playoff series victory since 1998 when the Padres went on to the World Series to face the New York Yankees. Who would you guys vote for with your first place vote here?
This is very close for me, and I'm just going to say David Ross is not a part of it. I would have to go between Mattingly and Tingler, mainly just because of how impressive both of these guys or both the storylines are. I mean, both teams haven't made the playoffs in a very long time, to say the least, and to come in as, Tingler's brand new, but Mattingly has been there for a little bit as well. But to come in a year like this and to solidify their teams, I think it's just a great story. I would personally pick Mattingly, and that's no knock on Tingler, and that's also no knock on David Ross. But I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is this is a team that at one point in the season was starting guys who hadn't played above high A, who they've never even really played minor league games in their career, and they made the postseason. They battled through, a COVID-stricken, stretch there for a minute where basically like you said, their entire roster had to quarantine, and they still battled through that and didn't let it make a difference in or factor into them making the postseason. If that doesn't speak volumes to the managing or to the coaching or to the leadership from a guy like Don Mattingly, who's been in this game for a very long time. It's the reason why, he's arguably not only one of the greatest, players of all time, but one of the greatest baseball minds of all time. That says a lot. And I think, that alone really solidifies it for me. They won a playoff series against the Cubs, who I feel like everybody could agree were the favorite to win that series, and they made it look easy against them. I just thought it was a great story. And so that alone, I feel like, having, you can't really give enough credit to Don Mattingly. So he's definitely my pick. And I think Tingler's definitely a close second, because kudos to him again for stepping in, taking the reins of a team that, has been, pretty unsuccessful for a very long time. And, again, just to solidify the organization a little bit, get their name out there and say, hey, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with for a long time. They got a crucial playoff win. They were injury riddled in the postseason. They managed to, eke out a couple really grinded out wins. I think that says a lot. I just think Mattingly is just the cooler story, if you will, for me.
For me, I'm going to have to go with Don Mattingly. I think that his first 2 years in Miami, back-to-back, last place finishes, takes them to 31-29, and first playoff appearance, since 2003, and first winning record since 2009. What he's done, he's a terrific baseball mind. Cole, you said that. You hit the nail on the head with that one. But looking at Mattingly, the dilemma, the chaos that this team went through at the beginning of the year, they had to sign guys. They had to bring guys up, and yet they started out 7-1, and they made the playoffs with some of their top talent on the COVID list. And what Don Mattingly has done is something that I did not think I would see from Miami, which is make a playoff appearance in a few years, at least. He would become, I believe, the third Marlins manager to win the National League Manager of the Year, if I'm thinking correctly. I think so.
It's probably Jim Leland, Mattingly, and then whoever led them in.
I didn't think. No. Wait, did Leland win it with Miami?
Yeah.
He had to have, because they've only made the playoffs twice, and it's just nearly impossible to win Manager of the Year without making the playoffs. So
I don't think he.
Leland won it. Leland was with the team when they won the World Series in, was that 90?
I think 97.
97. He was the manager.
I don't know if he's won it,
but did he win the Manager of the Year with the Marlins?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll look that up.
I'm pretty sure one of them was Girardi in 06, if I'm not wrong.
Could be.
But I don't know. I think both of them came in the 2000s though. But moving on. Looking at it, he was a combined 120 and 203 in his first 2 seasons with Miami, and now he gets into the playoffs. I don't care what you say about a shortened season. It's incredible to see Miami is back into the playoffs. And in the first week of the season, you saw Miami have 18 players test positive. During this 60-game season, they ended up making 174 roster moves and used 61 different players, still have a winning record, and make the playoffs. I got to go Don Mattingly. This is nothing against Jace Tingler because what he did was terrific as well. He did something terrific as well. He got that Padres team back to the playoffs. Another long drought of a losing record, missing the playoffs, snapped. Sorry. And now you have the Padres, who are a team to be threatened by in the NL West behind the Dodgers. For David Ross, he did a good job. He did. He comes back to the playoffs after missing the playoffs in 2019. He got Yu Darvish back to Yu Darvish. He's an NL Cy Young finalist. So all these guys did great jobs, but looking at it, the resumes, it's got to be Don Mattingly.
I agree. I think it's Mattingly as well. As much as I want to give it to Tingler, I think it's going to go to Mattingly. It's tough, but I mean, nothing's going to discount what Jace Tingler did for the city of San Diego. I mean, he brought us back to the playoffs in, a year in which was really tough on just about everyone. The Padres fans finally had something to cheer for, and was something to cheer for this year as well. So what Jace Tingler did is certainly Manager of the Year worthy. I just think that given what Don Mattingly had to do, I think that's going to top him. Let's move over to the Rookie of the Year. Let's stick with the AL first. 3 nominees are Luis Robert of the Chicago White Sox, Christian Javier, right-handed pitcher for the Houston Astros, and then Kyle Lewis, outfielder for the Seattle Mariners, as we just lost Ryan for the moment. That was interesting. Cole, who would you vote for here?
See, and this one's interesting. This is probably one of the tightest award races I feel like that we have this year, and I feel like it's been that way for a long time, probably since midseason. But I feel like it continues to be, and it's really been a 2-man race since midseason. And so I guess with that really being said, even with the average being as low it is, I'm really a big fan of Luis Robert. I would pick him to win this award. I mean, yes, average is 233, but he had 11 home runs, which I'm pretty sure was the most of any rookie this year. Definitely displayed a lot of power, was really good, really electric, made some really amazing plays in the outfield as well. He's going to be a staple of their franchise for a long time. It's tough. Honestly, it could really go any way here. I mean, Christian Javier kind of came out of nowhere as well. I think he's definitely an underrated pick. And then Kyle Lewis was also outstanding. But I really enjoyed watching Luis Robert this year, and I think I would give it to him personally. I'm disregarding the average this one time, even though it's pretty low. The OBP is pretty low. The OPS is pretty low as well. But I still think he's an electric player. I think he's going to improve from this point forward. And yeah, he's my pick.
This is tough because at the beginning of the year, I actually had picked Luis Robert to win this award, but then you saw Kyle Lewis come out of nowhere. And he and Robert each had 11 home runs this year. So it's a tough battle. At the plate, it's Lewis because he has the better numbers. He has better OPS plus, OPS, batting average, OBP. He has those better numbers than Robert. And it's tough for me to look at Robert and think that it's hard because Robert only beats him in one category that I think that I saw, and that was RBIs, and I think that was by a very small margin of 2 or 3. 3. Thank you, Dom. So it's a tough battle. I got to go with Kyle Lewis. Kyle Lewis was better at the plate, and I think that's what you're going to look at. That's nothing against Luis Robert at all. But Kyle Lewis, when he turned it on and was the best rookie at the plate. And he was also, and both guys were also solid defensively. So it's honestly kind of a coin flip here. But honestly, I would pick Lewis.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Ryan on this one here. I'm going to take Kyle Lewis as well. I feel like the difference in both the batting average, the OBP, and I believe the slugging percentage as well. Yeah, Kyle Lewis did have a higher slugging percentage there as well. So the 3 main hitting categories, Kyle Lewis had him beat in all 3 of them. Very wide margin between the batting averages and the OBPs there. For me, it's a pretty easy choice. Christian Javier had a 3.48 ERA and a .994 WHIP. Very talented, very bright future for Javier. Didn't get quite the numbers that you want to see out of Rookie of the Year when you're going up against a guy like Kyle Lewis. I'm going to side with Kyle Lewis on this one. I don't think Luis Robert is going to win it. I'm fairly confident that Kyle Lewis will get it. So let's move over to the NL Rookie of the Year award. We got Alec Bohm, slugging third baseman for the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the few shining spots on that team this year. He came up and was just an absolute thrasher. We also got Jake Cronenworth, San Diego Padres second baseman. He really burst onto the scene. Wasn't expected to play much for the Padres. Surprised to everyone in baseball, especially us Padres fans. And then you got the NL Relief Pitcher of the Year, the Trevor Hoffman Award recipient, Devin Williams. Who are you guys going to give this award to?
You know, it's another one of those where I feel like it's been a 2-man race for quite some time. But I think if you were to ask me who the winner was around midseason, I probably would have said Cronenworth. But, I mean, you cannot argue with Devin Williams in his numbers. I mean, in his first – it's not his first year per se. It's definitely his first full year, if you will. A sub-1 ERA at .33 is ridiculous. I don't care how many innings you've pitched. In 27 innings, he's got a WHIP of .63. In those 27 innings, he has 53 strikeouts. He's just flat out nasty. I mean, he's arguably, after his first full season, probably one of, if not the best reliever in baseball, just based on this season. I mean, he was ridiculous. He was virtually unhittable. And his changeup, known as the airbender, was one of the most unhittable pitches. I think the average against that pitch was almost like 0. I think there was only like 1 or 2 guys who actually amassed a single hit on that pitch, which is just insane. I mean, it's one of those like little things within the game that's just very impressive. I just don't think you can argue with those numbers. I'd say if he was a starting pitcher, those numbers are definitely inflated, and I wouldn't pick him because he doesn't have an everyday impact like a Cronenworth, like a Bohm does. But the fact that he's a reliever and he appeared in quite a few innings and he was very pivotal for the Brewers in their playoff run, I got to give it to him. I mean, he was just so impressive, and I actually can't wait to see this guy develop in years to come. He's just flat out nasty.
I agree. I got to go Devin Williams. Looking at the middle of the season, I agree. I would pick Jake Cronenworth, but you can't go against these numbers. 27 innings, 53 strikeouts, only gave up 8 hits, 1 earned run, a .33 ERA in 22 games. I don't know what else you could say that would not give him the award. He won the Trevor Hoffman Award as well. And I think when you're looking at, for Rookie of the Year, who played the best and who was the biggest piece of their team, I got to go with Devin Williams. He was a big piece of that bullpen, and he was terrific for them all year. Last year, in 13 games in Milwaukee, he had a 3.95 ERA. In 9 games more this year, he went to a .33. He was terrific, and I don't think I can go with anyone other than him just because of the pure development that you saw from last year to this year.
Yeah. Jake Cronenworth, you guys already mentioned, was your favorite at the midway point. He was the NL Rookie of the Month in August, and then September, I don't want to say he fell apart, but offensive numbers definitely went on the decline. It was his award to lose, and he lost it, and Devin Williams really took advantage of that. He allowed a run, I believe, in his second outing of the season, and then after that, he allowed 0 runs in 20 straight outings. It's really hard to not go with him there. So I'll go with Devin Williams as well. We are in agreement on that one. Let's move over to the pitching side. For the American League, I think we're all going to agree, like, it's unanimous here that it's Shane Bieber because he did win the pitching Triple Crown. So we don't even need to talk about that one unless I'm mistaken.
Kenta Maeda, baby.
No.
I'm kidding. It's definitely Shane Bieber.
National.
I'm so mad at myself for going against that when I picked him originally. So still hitting myself for that one. But no, it's definitely Shane Bieber.
Yep. So you guys both have Luis Robert as your preseason Rookie of the Year. I had Shane Bieber as my preseason Cy Young. And then, Ryan, you had Mookie Betts as your preseason MVP. Those are our only ones that are left alive, but I'm fairly confident that I will get my Cy Young award prediction right in the AL. Moving over to the NL, there's a little bit of a debate here. I have a feeling we're all going to go with Trevor Bauer, but the other two nominees, Jacob deGrom and Yu Darvish, are certainly closer to Bauer than Hyunjin Ryu and Kenta Maeda are in the American League. So are we in agreement that it's Trevor Bauer here?
Yeah. It's got to be Trevor Bauer. Led the NL in ERA 1.73. Had a terrific whip, .795. ERA plus of 276. Easy. I don't think there's much of an argument against Trevor Bauer, so he's my pick.
Okay, so that makes it easy. Obviously I agree. Trevor Bauer. He certainly took advantage of the short season and is building himself up to make a hefty pay raise this offseason. So
about to get paid.
Yep. Let's talk about AL MVP. Certainly one that's up for grabs. We got DJ LeMahieu, infield utility player, can play second base, can play first base, can play third base if you need him to. He really took advantage of that 2-year, $24 million deal, and he's about to make a lot of money as well as he enters free agency. Jose Ramirez, AL MVP finalist 3 of the past 4 years. I don't think a lot of people have realized that. Last year was that lone year where he did not make it, and even then, he had a really good second half of the season. Can he finally get it this year without Mike Trout in his way? We'll see. And then the final finalist, Jose Abreu. Who are you guys going to give this award to? Because to me, it could go to any 3 of these guys.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is probably one of, if not the closest awards race that out of all of them that are that we have. I personally will probably go with DJ LeMahieu here. Led the league in average at 364, which is insane. Had a 421 OBP, also led the league in that category. Had an OPS of over 1,000, just elite stats. Homers and RBI. He's never really going to be the guy who's going to, light up that part of the stat sheet. But he had 71 hits in a 60-game season. That's really, really good. He struck out 21 times and walked 18 times. He gets on base. He's a machine. That's why they call him La Machine. But I think a lot of people need to stop disrespecting Jose Abreu. He's probably one of, if not the most underrated player in the game, if not at least in the American League. 30-plus home run, 100-plus RBI seasons, pretty much every single year since he's come into the league. And this year he had 19 homers, had 60 RBIs, hit 317. He's just such a consistent player. I'm really glad he's definitely getting that notoriety and respect this year. I don't think he's going to win the award, but it's just nice to see, with Mike Trout not being in that top 3 race, a guy like Abreu gets, to be a finalist finally in an award like this because he's just been slept on for so long. I've always been high on him for a very long time, and I think, a lot of people should be as well. But I don't think you can argue with DJ LeMahieu's numbers.
Yeah, I agree. DJ LeMahieu. The one number that Cole did not put out there that I know of is led the league in OPS plus at 177. He played 50 games this year, batted 364, and had 71 hits. He was terrific. I don't know what else you want an MVP candidate besides the fact that you have seen Jose Abreu prove that he's just a terrific ball player and a terrific hitter. I've known that because he kills the Royals every single time he faces them, but still, he's been awesome. He really has. And the White Sox, I think, made a mistake not locking him up long term because he's going to continue to be an RBI machine and a home run machine. But going back to LeMahieu, what a way to take advantage of a cheap 2-year contract, and now he's about to get paid millions upon millions of dollars. He has proved to be one of the best hitters in baseball and a very versatile player where he can play anywhere on the infield. He's really proved how special of a player he is. I was shocked when the Rockies decided to move on from him because I didn't think they should have. I thought they should have signed him because I thought he was a great piece. And I said, that's going to be a terrific signing for the Yankees, and it's going to pay dividends for them. And it has. So, LeMahieu, Cole went through it. I'm just going to agree with him. LeMahieu.
I think this award could also very well go to Jose Ramirez because when you compare the two lineups, Jose Ramirez didn't really have any protection at all. And obviously, when you look at the Yankees lineup, ton of protection in there as well. But I mean, just going based off the stats, I would vote for DJ LeMahieu as well. I think it's really a 3-horse race. All three of these guys could ultimately end up winning this award. But if I had to vote, I would go with DJ LeMahieu. You guys already hit on just about everything. It's hard to believe that the Padres were in the market for a second baseman 2 years ago, and they opted to go with Ian Kinsler over DJ LeMahieu. I'll never forgive them for that. Although the Padres have put themselves in a good spot right now. But we'll see what DJ LeMahieu's market looks like this offseason. He's getting up in there in age, I believe, just a bit. He is now 32, so you don't want to be too contractually obligated to him, but, he's a great player. I don't think he was an MVP finalist last year. No, he finished in 4th. So the 2 years the Yankees got out of him, he was the 4th, and then he was a top 3 player. We'll see where the writers end up ranking him in the American League. So certainly one of the best free agent contracts of all time. I'm sure they're wishing they locked him up for a little bit longer though. But to our last award race before we wrap up the show, we'll talk about Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers in the next show. The NL MVP. We got 3 guys, 3 of the best players in baseball without a doubt. 3 names that are household names in baseball. Freddie Freeman of the Atlanta Braves, Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Manny Machado of the San Diego Padres. Who would you guys vote for in first place here? I think this one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think it's Freddie Freeman. Led the league in doubles this year. 53 RBIs, 13 homers, 341 average, 466 OBP. I mean, we could talk about stats all day. He had a 186 OPS plus. That's just nuts. Scored 51 runs. I mean, there's really no number that's just like not impressive on this guy's, line from this season. I think, Machado and Betts obviously, again, both had really good years. Definitely sort of came into their own, especially Machado, if you will. Betts has just always had that MVP caliber within him, and I think he was just extra motivated playing with a new team in LA. But, I mean, Freddie Freeman, the story is incredible. This guy actually was hospitalized with COVID and arguably was close to death, before the season started. He comes back, beats COVID, and then, puts together an MVP caliber season en route to helping lead the Braves to an ALCS. And they were on the cusp, obviously, of reaching a World Series for the first time in a long time. That says a lot. So, I mean, I think, there's not a whole lot more you can say about it other than that.
As much as I want my preseason prediction to be right with Mookie Betts, I got to go Freddie Freeman. The story is incredible, like Cole said. I was hoping you weren't going to mention that, Cole, because I was going to say it. But, no, the story's incredible. He's been terrific this year. OPS plus of 186 is insane. He walked 45 times compared to his 37 strikeouts. Insane. He has been the best piece for that Braves team throughout the year because you've seen Acuna be on the injured list a couple times and consistently scoring 51 runs total in the year. There's no argument really for me against him. So I got to go Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Freddie Freeman as well. He was just a beast this year, 60-game season. Certainly had the supporting cast around him to make a World Series run. Of course, they ended up not doing so. Looking at his career stats, he set a career high in batting average, career high in OBP, and a career high in slugging percentage for what already was a great career. And 8th place last year, 4th place the year before, 6th place in 2016, 5th place in 2013. So he'd been up there in this top player in the league, and yet he totally took a huge step forward this year in 2019. We'll also mention that Manny Machado also set career highs for himself in batting average, OBP, and slugging percentage. So we'll see if these guys can put up similar numbers next year in a 162-game season. These guys were very entertaining to watch this year. I'm certainly in agreement with you guys in this award with Freddie Freeman. Any final notes before we head out on the show?
I have one little tidbit. This year is the first year since 2017 that Mike Trout will not get first or second place in MVP votes.
And it's his first year since the year that he came up as a September call-up in 2011 that he is not an MVP finalist. So absolutely incredible. The run that we've seen from him is coming to an end. And he had a great year this year, too. He's probably going to finish in 4th place or maybe even 5th, depending on where they put Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber would have had my vote for MVP, by the way, but he was not a finalist. So that's your top 5, though, for sure.
Did you predict was it Hader to win?
He was my NL Cy Young Award, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then Cole and I also had Shohei Ohtani as AL MVP. We don't want to talk about that.
It didn't work.
Hey, I was close. I was actually closer. I had Glaber. I had the wrong Yankee.
Yeah, he had a bit of a disappointing year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
especially
you're right.
Slugging wise. You know, 2020, you can't put too much judgment on it.
Gotta have it with a grain of salt.
Yes, exactly. Cole, you got any final notes before we head out?
The Gold Glove is pointless. That's it.
Hey!
Retweet. I'm right there with you, buddy.
Again.
It's not pointless. It's just
there's merit to it. Just the process and selection of the winner is kind of flawed.
There you go. There it is, Ryan.
Can you both at least agree with me on that?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, I got one of you. I'll take it. I got one of you.
Well, if the Gold Glove is flawed and not good, then Arenado shouldn't win 8 years in a row. Just kidding. Arenado's the best.
That's an exception.
Okay, Colorado boy. Okay,
I mean, look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. He's right. Okay. All right.
Well, we can discuss this at a later date.
Next week.
We will be discussing this next week. Next week, we're going to come back. Golden Glove Award reaction. Silver Slugger Award reaction. I believe we'll also have reaction to our picks for these awards that we just talked about. We also have a Golden Sombrero report. I promise I will get that done because.
So what happens if you don't?
If I don't, well, we can discuss that. I don't know. That's a good question.
It'll happen at some point.
It's not going to matter because I'm going to have it. But I will have the Golden Sombrero report next week.
You know what? If you don't have it done, you have to wear a Dodgers shirt.
I'll wear a Dodgers shirt around here. I don't leave my apartment.
For an entire day, and you have to walk around Tempe.
No.
You not stay cooped up in your apartment.
All right, fine. I'm gonna have it done anyway, so it doesn't matter. We thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Golden Sombrero Show on behalf of Ryan Blank and Cole Bradley. This has been the Golden Sombrero Show. I'm Dominic Stern. Have a good night.